Start. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's the Payson City Council meeting on March 20th, 2024, and it's pretty close to about right at 6 o'clock, maybe 1 after. Thank you, Ariel and Tanya, for volunteering to do this. Tanya, would you come and open this meeting with prayer?
I do, Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to get together and discuss city business. And bless that we might have thy guidance and direction. And we thank you for all the many wonderful blessings that we have and the good people that live in the city. And we say so in Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. This is the mother-daughter team, Ariel Worthing. Would you come and lead us in the pledge?
Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ariel. Tanya? Before we get going, I'd like to excuse Brian Hewitt. He's at another meeting. He's going to get here. He believes he'll be a little late, but maybe will that be done before he gets here. Okay. Going on to C, consent agenda, approval of the March 6th, 2024 City Council minutes. Unless there's any problem or any discussion about the consent agenda, Council, I'm ready for a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda for March 2024.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Guess someone can't hear.
I think it was Don.
It was online.
Okay, I have a motion and a second on the agenda, the consent agenda. Roll call vote starting with Council Christensen.
Yes.
Council Rowley.
Yes.
Council Moss.
Yes.
Council Wyatt.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Moving on to D, petitions. Apparently there is no chamber business tonight, so we'll go ahead and skip that. Roger, we're ready for you if you're ready for us. Yeah. This is Roger Zimmerman from you.
I'm extra tall today, so I have this like injury boot thing here. Appreciate you having me out. It's just good to get out and kind of share the latest and greatest with Utopia and how things are going. You guys are obviously been involved with Utopia for many years. I'm going to try to share my screen here to make sure everybody can see slides and see if that works. All right. So anyways, we'll do a little bit of history just for those that aren't familiar with Utopia, what this is all about. I should call Utopia Fiber, just call it Utopia, it just sounds too, broadly happiness and everything, but it's fiber. We, a while back, these 11 cities at the top, the founding member cities, initially tried to get private companies to come in and invest and provide better broadband, couldn't get a response, couldn't get adequate services. There's several examples of businesses that left or were asking for what they couldn't get, and it was just a real problem for these cities. And they bonded together here, said, hey, let's create Utopia as an interlocal entity owned by the cities, and we'll collectively work together to build and operate these networks across our cities. Since that time, we've had a lot of growth with additional partnerships and various structures. So I'll kind of talk about why we do that and how that benefits us. But you guys are one of the originals. So you own this. You have board positions both with Utopia and UIA, which is kind of the second phase of the project. I'll show you the timeline. I'll just kind of skip to the timeline here. So just from timeline perspective, those are intentional colors. We did have a rough start from 2002 when it was created, but really we bonded together in 2004 and did the first phases of project, and the cities kind of got a little here and a little there. Cities didn't get completely built out. We didn't get very good take rate. The costs were a little out of control. And all the cities were just paying not just on the debt, but they were also paying just to keep the lights on. There's a significant operating deficit just to cover staff and keeping the thing alive. In 2008, the cities had to really decide what to do, whether they wanted to move forward or just cut their losses and pay the bonds forever and not have a benefit of the system and walk away. They chose to continue forward. And so in 2008, they created UIA. They financed projects starting in 2009 and started doing incremental build outs. At that point, Payson got a little bit built and we could start doing installations again, but we were still looking at a little more than half the city. They couldn't get the service. Yet we'd actually built a decent amount of stuff that was just kind of out there, but wasn't finished. And it was just a pain point back then of like, we're so close. We know people like the service. We know this, you know, we could do this. We could bond for the rest of the cost of the project and that would work. And waiting for these incremental UIA bonds wasn't really cutting it. It's like, yeah, this will get built out as UIA is able to do this independently, but over many, many years. And that's when the city said, hey, what can we do? And really, I think credit your mayor he really got involved to say, you know, what would this look like for us to jump to the top of the line and get this thing built out? So we put together a proposal that said, we'll finance a separate bond just for the finishing of Payson. And we'll have to have a certain number of customers and revenues to come on that, or else the city would be on the hook. It's been really successful. In fact, far more than we expected. Your city manager could attest, you haven't had to pay on that. So there was an agreement with some risk, but we went into that eyes wide open, realized we don't have to get that many customers on this system to pay for it, and it's been very successful. I got charts and stuff to show that. I just want to go back to the slide I skipped. Just a few things on Utopia, just so you're aware. This is the largest open access network in the country. It's actually largest municipal of any structure, open access or not, by locations in the country as well. We have 23 citywide fiber projects, fiber in over 50 cities. We have the fastest speeds in the country. It's the most competitive, meaning you have 15 providers on there. So if you have Utopia fiber, you can pick from lots of different options. If you don't like them, you just switch. And instead of having multiple companies have to come in and build fiber or other services in your city. We do a lot of schools, so we're number one in growth with the Utah Education Telehealth Network. We provide air quality sensors, we do smart city solutions. Our net promoter, which is a customer satisfaction score, is top in the state. Google rating score is actually 4.6 now, so it continues to get better. And we get all these other awards. So we're very proud of how the people like it. We keep getting more and more customers. We never lose customers in Payson or other cities. I mean, we might if somebody moves, but we've always been growing the customer numbers, and I'll show you that in just a second here. This is kind of just the idea of it, where you have fiber from the city, in our case, cities collectively, but we let the private companies come in and use that. And they're the internet providers. It's a connection for every house. You compare this even to other fiber options. We're faster, we have more capacity, it's more reliable because it's a dedicated system versus others that use what's called a PON system, where they just use splitters and you're kind of sharing with your whole neighborhood. It slows down during peak hours, and you think that's, people who had cable are used to that, that's normal for cable, but even some other fiber networks do that as well. And even the future versions of this, we have 10 gig available, dedicated to every house. And the other networks are still not quite there, but they're upgrading to the latest PON technology, which offers up to, really, I say 10 on here, rounding up, it's 8 gigabits. We've had 10 gig for over 5 years on our network for homes and over 100 gig for businesses. We actually just got the first award in Utah for 400 gig order for the school system for the universities. So we have an enormous backbone. Lots of future stuff coming down the pipe with AI and you know, different augmented reality. Like, there's always going to be more and more things coming out that use broadband. And And so the nice thing is we keep well ahead of that to make sure we're always enabling our communities for the future. So while we've had 10 gig for a while, we're planning to lower that price. We also have 2.5 and 5 gig options that we're planning to introduce into the network. And then also some apps for kind of managing your connection. So it's a little easier to know, like, hey, if I'm having a problem, is that me? Or is it the network? Is it, you know, and getting alerts? And then also doing a lot of smart city things. This was just the last year. We did a lot. We've got up, now we're over 63,000 subscribers across all of our systems. We just entered into an agreement with Bountiful City to do their project. Down at the bottom right, it's kind of hard to read, but we finished 5 citywide deployments in the last year. So those Cedar Hills, Orem, Pleasant Grove, Santa Clara, and Syracuse were all completed. And we used to announce networks, and now we're like completing them. So an exciting time. Lots of build. This was a very good year for Utopia. This is our customer chart over the last 10 years about. You see it's definitely demand's gone up and growth has been good for us. This is by city. Mostly it trends with the size of the city, but you know, obviously it goes up. Even a city where we finished the build many years ago, we continue to add customers, and not even just by a little bit. Like demand is getting stronger and stronger, even if we built that network 10 years ago. So this is Payson specific. So this was the result of that bond. We had previously had about 2,000 addresses. So this is availability, just where you could get the service. And it went up a little bit here with the UIA bond. But then it was like, hey, what can we do to do a Payson specific project just to get this thing finished out? And that's what built out the rest of the city. Now, since then, you keep growing on us. So we never are really done. We keep having to come in and build new roads and to new homes, and that's a good thing. But that's why that never really stops growing. With that, this is our customer number here. So we have this many connections in the city, and you can see even after that project, it didn't really stop. We continue to add a lot of customers. There's been an especially large number of Comcast outages in Payson for some reason. I don't know why. It had nothing to do with us, but it's been very helpful. Whatever they're doing, I hope they keep doing it. So, but we've had especially strong growth over the last couple of years in Payson, and we've seen it on like social media and other stuff where people are just like, why are you still on cable? Like when this is available, there really is no reason to be on that. You have a city-owned fiber infrastructure with the best speeds, best value, local providers and competition. It really is a good service, and word's been getting out. And so we see it in the numbers. If we go back to like what the terms of that deal were, this is just a map showing like this is where our customers are, but at a Zoom level that we're not really divulging too much detail. But yeah, we really just cover the whole city. Blue dots are businesses, reds are residential. But we do really well across the whole city. So here's a couple just bullet points on that bond. If we go back, it was 2019. It was a 3.5. Really, it was 3.2 million or whatever. But when they sell them, they kind of have all the issuances and headrooms and premiums and all that stuff. So technically, it was considered a $3.5 million bond. Paid for the remaining build out of the city. Paid for 634 installations. The city had to do a pledge of 228,000 annually. If there was, it just has a guarantee to that loan in case there wasn't any revenues. The good thing is there's enough revenues and then some. We had 855 customers back then. We needed 634. Since that time, we're now at 2786. So we're 1797 over that target. So we blew way past that number. So you've got a lot of buffer in your ability or to not worry about any sort of payment on that bond. The original Utopia bonds still have debt obligations on them. So the city still pays on that. I think they end in, I just got that number from my CFO, but I think it's 2027. Yep, that's the number he had too. So those payments, you still have a couple of years of those and they go away. And then we say, well, what about that? All those extra installations, right? That's great. There should be money coming out of this thing all over the place, right? But it doesn't quite work that way because it costs a lot of money to connect those customers, even though there's network in front of them. So since this last bullet point, it's like that additional take rate and a bunch of city growth, we're estimating it's been probably $3 million additional that has cost us to continue with that growth and support those installations. But there's additional revenue. So UIA, we collectively do additional bonds, we have revenue that comes in UIA, and then we have additional debts, and that's what kind of funds that ongoing installation growth, and that we have never had to come back to the city and say, yeah, there's gonna be revenues, but we need a capital expense, big capital expense that will pay off eventually, so we needed to guarantee another bond or something like that. Fortunately, it's been strong enough that we've been able to do UIA bonds without backstops from the city, so you don't have any guarantee or exposure on those debts. But it is revenue that goes into the system that helps us. Ultimately, if we continue these trends, this is a way out there, but we keep paying more and more of the Utopia bond obligations. You're in a different structure than the other cities. They refinanced in 2008. You guys opted out of that, so yours ends before theirs. They pay more and they're losing more, but as UIA makes more money, we're able to kind of offset those payments. But when we're able to offset them to the level of what your payments have been, then we would start paying a portion of those. I think yours are going to end before we get to that point. However, when we get beyond that point and continue to be profitable, the intent is to pay back money that cities have paid for previously into those bonds. So that's a lot of money across a lot of cities, and it'll happen gradually and slowly. But we don't have any reason to think that's not going to happen. All the trends have pointed towards us continuing to be successful, continuing to grow and expand. A lot of that kind of revenue growth has been with the new city partnerships. So this is kind of a chart that shows, like, as we do new bonds, some of those are with specific city projects, some of them are collectively. The revenues have exceeded all of our debt obligations on those projects. So UIA has become a lot more profitable, and so that'll kind of tie back eventually. So far, our capital needs have been so much that we've needed all that capacity to finance capital expansion and installations and all that. But the trend is, like, now we're starting to get some of the principal payments in versus interest on the bonds. And so that actually gets us in a really good position financially, where we can, we have to kind of balance our capital needs with the cash that we can make available to cities. So we balance that, but we are, like I said, continue to pay more of our share of the Utopia original bonds, and eventually hope to start funneling some money in a way that offsets the anything paid previously. But that's the way it's done. But it's all good news. It's all trending really well. These are just the revenues combined of both Utopia and UIA on a monthly basis. So that's, you see, we just continue to grow revenues very strong. These partnerships like Bountiful, that's a Utopia partnership. When we finance the deals through UIA, so kind of have different buckets for different projects. And then this is the status of every project for Utopia and UIA in the financing. So they've all been successful except for that one. I don't think that's me because I'm still on Zoom and can still see it, but it's I don't know, your projector or something. Anyways, I'll just talk through it a little. Bonds that we've done. All of them have been able to build a network, add customers, and paying their debt services, except for that initial phase of bonds from 2004 to 2008. So we've got a really good track record and continue to improve on that. At the end of the day, we do all this so people have better broadband. And from what we can tell, people are liking it. We keep ahead of it, and people keep signing up. And we're here. We work for the cities to support you. We get phone calls if you guys ever have problems. I mean, David calls me sometimes, and we respond. And everybody at Utopia treats this as, we work for the cities. If someone calls for customer service or whatever, it's, we're not there treating people like, oh, you're we care about the $60 a month or whatever. It's we work for the communities. We hope that people, as they interact with our team, feel that we're here to support them, just like they trust their local city. We feel like we're you in a partnership. And that attitude is carried throughout our organization. We appreciate the relationship and the partnership with the city. It's, hope it's been mutually beneficial and has driven happiness and quality of life and economic development. We know we talked to work closely with your big businesses and it's been critical for them as well as for the residents. But that's all I have to share. Do you have any questions for me?
This is a statement, you've been very, very good to work with and we appreciate you very much. I know it's a good product and I've been working on ATVs that you have it extensively and so we're very happy that you're part of our community.
This was a very forward-thinking idea when it came out in the early 2000s in Utopia. I remember the talk of the sky was falling through when it first came about, but I'm so glad that the people here at Payson had the foresight to be involved with it because it is proving to be a great private and co-op partnership. And I love that you still opened up, let private companies provide the service with the infrastructure. It's proven to be a good model. So thank you.
And I've been a customer of Utopia for years and I've always been pleased with it. So thank you so much.
You know, I had a lot of people as I became mayor, I had a lot of people to say, why don't we have this? And so that's what, you know, well, we made contact and it sounded like you were wanting to make contact on the other side, so we'll go.
I just wanted to put a plug in for Roger. As he kind of mentioned, this was a tough project when it started, and the city council initially voted 3-2 against it, and then they reconsidered it the next council meeting, and one council member switched to vote, so it's 3-2, and we joined as the original person of it. It was rough go for a while, and we were the black sheep for a while, and but we're glad we stuck with it. Roger actually was the manager that came on and kind of turned it around. So been a great model. Since then, it's made money. We've had a couple of rebate monies that came back, and I think the way the agreements were structured back in 2002 at the interlocal was all the bond payments we've had to pay for the original bond is considered a loan. So like Roger said, when it gets where we pay off some of these other, we'll start getting that back. It'll take some time, but I think it's a good investment that you said it, but it was rough. It was rough on the council. It was rough for those early years, but right now we're seeing the fruits of that. Hopefully that, you know, you see the trajectory. It's great service for people. People now demand internet service and fast speeds. Back when we first started this, I know CenturyLink, it was Quest at the time, and Comcast, they came in and we actually got sued. That Utopia did by them early on. And I can remember one of them saying, "You don't need a Cadillac." They're like, "Yeah, but we don't need a Yugo either. We need some service for our community." And so I think wading through all that has been great. But just Roger's been a big part of turning this around. So I want to thank him for that.
Thank you, Dave. And Roger, to an uneducated new city council member, could you just briefly explain what UIA is and the partnership with Utopia?
Yeah, so they're both interlocal entities. Really would make everybody's life easier if we just had one. But what happened is when it came time to vote on new bonds in 2009 for kind of that move forward, there was a couple cities whose credit position would have harmed the ability to finance future phases. And so Tremonton and Perry are not members of UIA. Payson is a member of UIA, but you didn't pledge revenues on those first bonds, but you're still a member. Like you still have board position and all that. So that when it wasn't the same exact cities to do things, it was like, well, crud, you know, we can't obligate these cities into something. We actually don't want to obligate them into something because it would have made it very difficult. So we created a separate interlocal. So we have Utopia, which is kind of it's all the people, like we've got over 100 employees and all the trucks and vehicles going around fixing and locating all the stuff that we do is all Utopia. But UIA is kind of the sister agency that's used just for financing projects. And I'm in charge of that too. I don't really get paid for that job. So, I mean, it's all kind of collectively Utopia Fiber between Utopia and UIA, but it's we do have two sets of books,
Separate
two separate
entities.
reportings.
Because
you
of
know,
financing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, two separate meetings for all of our board meetings, and we have to kind of decide, is this in the Utopia bucket or is this the UIA bucket? Someday there might be an opportunity to merge the two back together, but, for now, it's just kind of the way it is.
Thank you.
Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, UIA, the reason we had to do a backstop, that the standards report just didn't know how to evaluate UIA, is that, and then they were the ones
That's
getting the bond, and
still-
they were backing it up, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the rating agencies still, it's a challenge to get this, because open access is a different idea. They're like, well, wait, you're government, but you're in a competitive space, but wait, you're not even the retail provider, and usually they have a spreadsheet they plug it into and they come out with a rating, and so there's been a lot of difficulty in how they're financed and the structure, and then also it was partially the credit situation of some cities at the time UIA or Utopia wanted to move forward, and they're like, this is gonna be an obstacle and ruin the credit of the entire credit if we had those cities involved. The only way to structure new debt moving forward was to exclude a couple cities. And they were small, so it didn't matter much.
Interesting. Thanks, Roger.
Appreciate it very much. Any other questions, statements? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Okay, we'll move on to number 3 on D, the petitions of the public forum. Anyone can speak, it's public forum as long as it's not on the agenda, and please be cognizant of the time, and please identify yourself as you come up. Ariel, did you want to come up? Come on up. I want to put you on the spot, but I thought you did.
It's all right, it's all right, it's all right.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay, hi, I'm Ariel Worthen. Unlike Roger, I am not tall today, but, my concern is, turning, when you're coming down the highway, and you're coming down the Utah Avenue stoplight, and you're going to turn right. There's people turning in like a Sandwich Queen in the old Dalton's parking lot, and there's a double yellow line, and it tends to stop traffic, and it tends to back things up and make it a lot more complicated for the other drivers. And personally, as a new driver, it makes it super confusing to me. So, yeah, that was my only concern. So maybe putting a sign up saying no left turns in the parking lot. So, yes.
Just so you know too, Ariel, there are signs that people are supposed to, should pay attention to, is the lines on the road. The
Yes, sir.
double yellow lines is supposed to delineate that you cannot make a left hand turn there.
They still like.
So we'll look at our street superintendent and chief and see what we can do.
Sure, okay,
Thank
for your
you.
time.
It's a good concern.
Thank you. Anyone else like to take advantage of the public forum? And be online? Okay. We'll go ahead and close the public forum and move on to staff and council reports. Diane, I believe you've got a report for us.
I do. Thank you. So we have a few changes in the chamber going on. We thought you might be interested in knowing that we changed some names leadership. They made me president, and I decided to quickly make a change with that and brought it before the chamber, because almost every other chamber of commerce in the state, in fact, I think we might be the only ones that don't do this, but their full-time person, who is Jim Rowland in our case, was the president CEO. And then the person that rotates through was the chairman of the board of directors. And so we decided to go ahead and make that change. So Jim Rowland is the president CEO, so it doesn't change all the time, and that he's the face that people will recognize as that president. And for this year, I am the chairman of the board for the chamber. So I wanted you to know about that. Also, the chamber office is moving. I don't know if you guys are aware where the chamber office was, but I didn't like that staircase very much. The older I get, the less I like that staircase. They're moving into the ERA brokers building. So we've given them an office space in there. Their only cost is ERA's membership in the chamber. So that's their annual cost for having that. It will save the chamber a lot of money annually to make that change. So that will be happening at the end of April, that they'll be making that move over into the ERA office. So wanted to make you aware that we're doing a new program this year. It's called Passport to Summer. In the previous years, it's been done in Santaquin, and they've had a lot of success with it. And the people doing it in Santaquin asked the chamber if we take it over. So now it will be combined with both Santaquin and Payson. And what it is a kids program. And so businesses in the two cities will be able to put a page in this little passport book. The kids will get them. They'll be distributed mostly through the libraries, but we'll have some in the city offices and also in chamber members' offices. But the kids can do the little activities that the different businesses put in that, and then go into those businesses to get their passport stamped. And so it'll bring people into the local businesses, which should be a very good thing for each of the cities, and make a fun activity for our kids this summer. So we hope to have that be a really successful activity that happens this summer. And do any of you have any questions about that passport? Okay. We'll have that going probably just after Labor Day is when the passports will be into the libraries in both cities and into the city offices.
Memorial Day? Memorial Day?
Sorry, thank you. Memorial Day, yes. It is a passport to summer, so we probably shouldn't do it at Labor Day. Just wanted to report, we had our annual activity this past week for bowling. It was Monday night, and we had 149 people sign up for the activity. The bowling alley was full. It was very successful. That activity just keeps growing every year for the chamber members and their families to come bowling, and it was a great time. Anyway, we appreciate the support you give us as a city, and thanks for letting me come and report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, any city staff like to take the advantage of the time?
I'll be brief, hopefully. Anyway, update, our office work at the Wilson School is moving forward. We need to get our telecommunications in, get the phone system in there. The data lines just got pulled in Monday. So I'd like to thank Steve and Daniel and Kyle for all their work there in those offices. So hopefully soon we can start moving over. Youth softball games will start next week. Youth soccer games will start next week. And we've had to expand almost every division there to the level we could with the amount of fields we have. We still have some kids on waiting lists, so we'll see where we go with them. But right now we're completely full there. On softball, we do have a high school invitational tournament coming April 6th. So that'll be high schools from throughout the state coming into our town and playing that weekend as well. And then just an update with our 4-Bay committee. We met last night. Our chair of the committee, Carrie Pierce, has moved out of the city. And so we've transferred leadership. Devin Weaver was the vice chair, and he is going to serve as the chair for the remainder of this year. And then Kevin Crook, who was just appointed on the board, will serve as the vice chair now. So we'll move forward that direction with the 4-Bay committee. So, and then Carrie still currently will work seasonally with us in the summer to work on the trails, and will occasionally attend meetings and give his expertise or his input in the meetings as well. Thank you.
Carl, how are we looking for coaches this year? Is that always a struggle, or?
It is always a struggle, yeah. So just an example, maybe a younger league, third and fourth graders, we probably had 30% of what we needed signed up. And then we recruit the rest. And then 7th through 9th grade, I think we had 0 sign up. And then we ended up calling everyone because nobody responded to text or emails. And it's a lot. I mean, you call 60 parents and 55 of them say no and 5 of them say yes, and you put it together. And we know there's service opportunities from the prison for people that want to do volunteer work. So we kind of put that out there and parents say, oh, I'd rather do it.
Before you wander off, are we needing more soccer fields? I noticed
Yeah,
that we
100%.
took the old swimming pool out at Memorial Park. Could we put a couple in there? There were a lot of people playing soccer there today. At Wilson, I mean,
So space that way, we would probably go to the school first, maybe Wilson or Spring Lake even, to do that. Currently, we're trying to say families could still play close to each other within all of this complex. We are certainly looking to buy, I think you guys are aware of that. We've talked about that multiple years about buying additional fields for multi-use fields, additional space. But yeah, in the interim, that's what we can do. We can start to move, for example, kindergarten or first and second grade to elementary schools and start doing that. We're just trying to be,
with us buying Wilson, that is, I mean,
Yeah.
that might be.
and so the public knows we could, with the agreement we have with the school district, not just Wilson, but we could utilize any school property already for that as well. Like we shared with the goals here at Taylor, teams go there and practice and use that for practice facility. We haven't moved games there, but we could do that. We're just trying to think about, when a parent has to drop off a 4 or 5 year old at one field and then a 7-year-old at a different field, it's kind of difficult to leave one of those young children in one locale. So we're trying to keep them as close as we can still. Yep. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Carl. Appreciate you.
Apologize for my sandals, council. I saw stitches on my ankle.
Well, you missed,
I know, so.
This is Hawaiian style. I just wanted to let you know, I had sent out an email a week or so ago, letting you know about a joint work session with Elk Ridge. That's going to happen on April 11th at 5 o'clock from 5 to 6. So we will meet in this room with Elk Ridge's council and their city recorder and their planning commission, along with our planning commission, and just have a really good discussion about recreation and preservation and conservation, Bay area golf course, connection to Elk Ridge, all of those types of things. So our intention of that meeting is just to get some good direction from our councils so staff can bring back additional information. So I just wanted to make sure it's on your schedules, April 11th, 5 o'clock in this room. Thank you all.
welcome.
Mayor Council, we've been to some water meetings since Monday. The water situation looks good in Utah. I think currently statewide, we're 127% of normal. There's some pockets that are a little bit less and some that are more, but the National Weather Service this morning in the presentation said probably the next month it's going to be colder and rainier than usual, so we're not done with the moisture. That's the way the pattern looks like it's happening, but you know, it's weather. You get a weather that's 50% right, 50% wrong. So who knows what will happen, but we're in a good situation with our water here. The reservoirs right now are 83% capacity, and we haven't even started a lot of the runoffs yet. So Great Salt Lake's gone up a couple of feet, and it's at the highest point as it was last year, and we haven't started the runoff yet. So I think they're predicting it might raise another foot and a half. If we get a lot of rain, it could go up 2 feet, and that's great for the Great Salt Lake. So overall, I think it was good. Maybe you could comment. Brett, you have a question?
Well, I have a comment, a thought. This is more for the engineering, is we've built this giant underground water holding facility, and everybody complains that none of the water makes it back to the Great Salt Lake. Why do we still have legislation that requires we keep all that water on site when they're asking us to get it all back to the Great Salt Lake? Can somebody fill me in on where the logic is on that?
Probably have to talk to the state.
I mean, I can understand that, hey, if I'm putting asphalt in, maybe we need to build a ditch big enough to handle it. I don't want an LA River running down through the middle of the Wasatch Front, but it doesn't make sense to me. They complain we don't have water there and then make us keep it.
Well, that's a complicated answer, but there was a legislation proposed to force anyone in the Salt Lake Basin for the Great Salt Lake to not retain or detain any water and send it all there. The problem is that would cost billions and billions of dollars because not one channel we have would be able to handle that much water to just let it go without any detention.
So we would have to have an LA River,
Yes, and bigger, like the Mississippi.
but empty 90% of the time.
Yes, but when it got it,
I just wanted to point that out. I just wanted it on public record that we understand that
the goal changes quite regularly, and that's the hard part is you go down one path and then if they change it, you've invested all this time and money this way and now you basically just throw all that away and go the other way if that's.
And there's a big conversation about water rights too, which is really, really fun.
And that legislation did not pass. But there is a task force or commission now for the lake itself. So we'll see in the next year what they decide to do as far as training on water.
One thing it does do though, it puts the water in the groundwater.
Yeah, it helps
It does. I'm not,
recharge the aquifer.
I think it's better in the aquifer than it is in the Salt Lake, but
Keeps it
I
hidden.
just was interested if the rest of them caught that.
Yeah. Well, and they passed the law last legislative session, and I think we were the second city in the state to get a reuse permit for our wastewater. And we're using that, but they passed a law saying there can be no more reuse applications after November of 2023. And so Hanson Alous talked to us, says, you might as well file another one just to upgrade what you've got, because ours has been 10, 15 years old. So we did that, and apparently there's so many regulations in that law that you have to have a management plan that if the water you're gonna reuse, you have to have another plan that you're gonna, how you're gonna replace that water. I think they're trying to get it all to go Salt Lake, and so there were so many regulations. I think the state said, we're just gonna refund your money for your application, give it back to you. And I think it was brought up down at the meetings down in St. George, hopefully that we can go back to the legislature and try to fix that, because reuse, you know, if you can use your reuse water for other purposes and not have to use your other irrigation water, there's more water. But yeah, they threw in some pretty tough regulations that I don't know if any city could meet it. And so that's kind of, you know, water is always a tough thing every year. There's many bills, and it's a good organization, Utah Water Users Association, just to keep up on what's going on.
And it's more complicated than this, and what they were talking about. The Great Salt Lake is a benefit to the whole state because it does control our weather to a certain extent. And
I understand.
So it's very important to have those water levels that not historic, well, the historic levels, so our weather to be somewhat stabilized. They're investing how many billions of dollars to Cloud City to help the weather.
For the seeding.
Yeah,
There's
they're continuing.
a couple $1 million a year to try to help control the weather, get more rainfall. There are a lot of things going on. Utah Lake Authority is just getting up and running. There's a lot of things that'll be happening there. And so we live in a desert, so water is really important. The other thing I wanted to bring up just for the council, this is just for your information, I can forward you, but I gave you a heads up that as we tore up the Main Street and Utah Avenue for that tie-in is pretty tough to tie in. The trees have buckled up a lot of the concrete on Utah Avenue, so Kent and Travis thought it'd be good to get a bid from our contractor to see what we could do to finish Utah Avenue from SR 198 over to 100 East by Mi Rancherito. And that was in the big master plan to do that. When the cost went so high, we put that in another phase. But Kent does have some Class C road funds that he doesn't have budgeted to use. The projects that he has, he doesn't think he would use that. The bid we got is a little higher than I thought it would be, but it's within the amount he has in there. What we would need to do if the council's favorable to finishing Utah Avenue, since it's all torn up anyway, while we have the contractor here, would be to, we'd have a budget amendment next council meeting. We'd have to give public notice. It's a public hearing. And the council would need to appropriate that money for that purpose. And so we can get that scheduled if that's something you want to consider. And we're also looking at our lobbyist that we looked at. He said he could probably get us a couple more million. If we get that, we can add more to the project. In the current budget that we're working on, that'll come to the council, we're proposing to put $300,000 in to finish the parking lot behind the library. That's a bad one, needs to be done. And so we're chipping away as we find the funds. We've been budgeting about $300,000 to get different parking lots. We did this one last year, the year before with the golf course. I just wanted to continue to appropriate so much money to get all of our parking lots done. You can't use Class C road funds for parking lots, but we can use it for Utah Avenue. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. I know this is just an update, but I can send you the bid that we had so you can all look at it. But we would need to get a notice in the paper for a budget amendment if you want to consider that next council meeting.
And just so the council know, I know I've talked to Jared Gordon, Ace Hardware, which would, that would be right next to his comment was, well, let's get all the thing done while we're in paying. So just so you know.
My concern is those old growth trees. They look great and wonderful and they're lovely. However, they and asphalt do not mix, and it's really tough. I worry that you go in there, we'll take the tops of the roots off and do it all. I don't know, they're not the greatest of tree varieties either. But
Those along Eli's, they're really pretty, really like them, but they're not the right kind
yeah.
And it's
to keep the it is,
Really bad.
and that's where Kent originally contacted me and said, for the tie-in for what we're doing on Main Street to tie in Utah Avenue would be really difficult because the concrete's been raised up by the roots and stuff. It'd be better.
I'm just bringing it up because I don't know that the trees are gonna survive this.
They won't. They have to pull down. Yep.
But that's just.
They would be replaced with different types of trees. I know we talked about maybe putting them in planter boxes instead of, but I think like on Spanish Fork Main Street, they pull those out every few years and just put new ones in so it doesn't
Mess up your
so
smell.
yeah, it doesn't. And there are trees that have the roots that you can put in there that won't cause it to buckle. We just have to get the right trees in there. The ones we have are pretty right now, but yeah, they would need to go.
So they can still be a pretty good sized tree, even you just replace them, so they don't have to be small.
So maybe what we'll do is we'll plan on a public hearing and you guys can address it in public and do what you need to do, or whether you decide to do it or not. But I'll forward you the bid we got from the contractor so you can review it and look through it.
And just to be clear, Dave, you did say these were funds that were not earmarked for anything else. I just want to make sure you're not taking away from another project. I could have.
I knew you had made that comment. I called Kent when I was down in St. George. You want to address that, Mr. Powden?
We have about $2.2 million in fund balance right now currently. But since COVID, we budget these projects and we can't get a bill. Contractors are backed up, so we end up rolling them from year to year, fiscal year to fiscal year until we get them completed. And that way, if the projects come in under budget, then it drops, the overage goes back to fund balance. The last 3 years, we've been rolling things over. It takes time to get them designed and bid. And then last summer, we couldn't get contractor to do a mill or all, but they're so stacked up. So we're backed up for 2 or 3 years. So that's why, this money's not specifically, there's a lot of places you can put it, but it's not specifically earmarked for any specific project. But I think it really behooves us all as a city to seriously look at completing that e-tile while we're in there.
Especially other contractors in there.
Yes, sir.
And now's the time to do it, like you're saying, hey, we're already in the mess, let's get it all.
Very good, Ken. I just wanted your opinion on this. and
Oh,
make sure
we're
you're
good.
okay.
We're good. We got a bean counter to keep track of it. Cool.
Who's the other one?
Thank you.
Yeah, he said most of the projects they have scheduled to do, they wouldn't use any of that. It would just be the money they have in their
Yeah,
budget.
it'd be excellent to have as much of that area done as possible for the businesses.
Yeah, if we could get that and then the new budget starts in July or August and then get the library done.
It's a crying shame.
That would be a
we can't
big
use-
part of the project.
It's a crying shame we can't use those funds for parking lots though. 'cause-
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, they have to be on public
Claim to say
roads.
that's-
Yeah. Anyway, that's just an update there.
Thank you, Dave.
Any other staff? Oh, Tracy, come on up.
Remind me to go before Dave has time. What was I thinking? I was gonna nominate Councilman Rowley and Dave as coaches though, Carl. It sounded like a little volunteer, so did it a little bit, a little interest. I think guys would be great coaches.
The prison inmate might do a better job.
So you need a background check, that's what you're saying, if you can pass that. Anyway, a couple things on the golf end, we have all 18 holes open. We opened them Saturday. It's been really busy, it's been fun. The RV park, we're trying to get open for Easter weekend. So, we had a lot of people call and wanting to get into the, I don't know about RVers, but they like to book so far in advance, it's crazy, so we've been taking a lot of, phone calls there. Greg and his crew, I think tomorrow are gonna be on the south end of the business park, redoing some controllers for the irrigation. We needed to update that, so that'll be good, good project to get done. One of the main reasons I want to get up here and thank our men's association, they stepped up with a $10,000 donation that we redid 4 stairways on T-boxes. So we concreted them in and we just really appreciate, they've been great. Anytime we need something, they open up their checkbook. So thank you to the men's association. On the parks and cemetery, one thing I wanted to make you guys aware of is from when Kent and those guys were in there last year helping us with the roads, we appreciate that. It's, we're gonna continue that. But along the side of the roads, we have a lot of dirt right now. Maybe I shouldn't even say a lot of dirt. It just doesn't look like we want to for Memorial Day. But our challenge is, we don't know for sure when we'll get the water. And because we didn't get the water last year, we're gonna have to fix a lot of the irrigation system due to that project. So what I'm asking for is a little patience that we would prefer, it'll still look as nice, but there might be some dirt there. We'd prefer to get through Memorial Day when we can get the system up and going, and then we will actually sod those areas, get them back to normal. We're just worried if we seed them, we might not get the water in time, and if we sod them, a lot of people still pull their cars during Memorial Day. They just, doesn't matter what we do, they want to pull on the grass, and we think, well, we just think it'd be better to wait until after Memorial Day. And so you guys probably will hear about that, usually someone has something about that. We're gonna start removing the asphalt pass at Memorial Park the first of next week. So we'll start taking that out. Then concrete will come right after it. They'll give us a couple-day buffer because we'll be hauling the road base, and then they'll form and we'll start pouring down there next week. So that'll be good to get that going.
Comes from the park tax day.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And then the Parks Department's been out helping Carl up at the ball fields, planting, I think around 35 trees.
30 trees.
Yeah, so that's nice, and then also it's just a lot of pre-emergent spraying, getting ready for spring. So I only try to come up every once in a while, but when I do, I have a big list. So if anyone have any questions or
Yeah, did we ever get the gate built for the RV park?
no? It's interesting you said that. We met this morning, Wes, Greg, and myself, and we have money in the budget to build a gate at the RV park, a gate coming into the golf course, and one down at the maintenance shed. So we're gonna build them all the same. They'll be automated, but when I say that, automated will we'll open them up and leave them open all day, and then when we close, we'll shut it. Now, the RV park will have a pad for RVers coming in and out, but the rest of it will be an automated gate for snow plow drivers or any of that, you know, so that should be completed. Matter of fact, that's on my notes to get it done, you know, it'll be done this budget year, so. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any other staff? Think that was enough? We'll start with council reports, council back. Okay.
Had a great vacation, I just want you guys.
Glad you did.
I have a few things. Diane just left, but I wanted to say that Chamber of Commerce is doing an amazing job. And I'm really proud of them, and they're just changing the face of it. It's just amazing. Our city staff is amazing as well. You guys work so hard, and we're really thankful for all that you guys do. Councilman Rowley and I were able to meet with Robert and Jill and go up to Orem and meet with the UTA people up there, and that was enlightening and educational, and it was a really great meeting, and I really enjoyed that. That was very interesting to me. And then also I want to commend our police officers again. They've been through a lot this week, and they did an excellent job. And tomorrow we're doing, I think, our last thing for Citizens Academy. We're doing an active shooter training at the high school, which I'm a little nervous actually, but I'm excited too. Our officers are amazing, so that's.
I'd like to ditto with what Ann said regarding our police officers. Thank you very, very much for what you do. Many times it's a thankless job and a very high pressure job, so thank you. Please relay that, I know you will. Also, Dave said it as well, with the water meetings that we had down in St. George. Yes, we're having 2 very good years in a row, but the historic record has been, we've had a good year and then we have a bad year. This year, for the first time for a while, we've had 2 good years together. That doesn't mean we shouldn't conserve. So just wanted to make that note that, you know, we live in a desert. They just said that, and we need to use what we need to use, but let's conserve what we can. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess first off, we need to allocate some money to fix the doors back there. I don't know, Cass.
He does it 2 or 3 times a year.
I don't know if Casper's trying to come in to watch the meeting or what. My goodness, can we use, what do we have, 2.2 million? Can we get those doors fixed?
They didn't used to do it. It's when they switched them to the wave, and so the one door will pass and
Yes,
waves there, and so then the other one opens and they
talking to
back
each other.
and they get excited. Watch it.
Thank you. I want to thank Robert Mills for solving that problem. In all seriousness, I want to thank Carl. I know this is the busy time of year where you're getting all the recreation squared away and all the kids signed up, and he's mentioning the phones are ringing off the hook, but Payson does a really good job of providing many recreational activities for our kids. My kids are some of the partakers of that. So thank you. And when I have a little more spare time, maybe I will volunteer to be a coach one day, but not yet, okay? But really, we have a robust rec department, thanks to Carl, so I'm thankful for that. I had the opportunity to attend youth court a couple weeks ago, and what a tremendous program that is for youth that have made mistakes to come in this room before a panel of other youth in junior high and high school and make amends and deliberate. It was a really neat process, and I'm thankful. So I want to continue to see that happen. I'm thankful for Shelby Bowling for making sure that happens. And then I know that Robert, Michael, and Jill have been doing an awful lot with a particular subdivision in the last few weeks, and as have I. And I want to thank them for their constant direction and help that they've rendered to me as we've tried to sort these issues out. Just know that your work doesn't go unnoticed by myself or the residents that are down there. So thank you, and please please keep up the good work and cool heads always prevail, don't they? So thank you guys. And then Chief Bishop, I'm gonna send my support and condolences to the department and the officer that was involved in the OIS, and I'm thankful for well-trained officers. I know your phone's been ringing off the hook as well, and you're responding emails. So just let the police department know, and that officer in particular, that if he did things by the book, that we 100% support and are grateful for the hard decisions that you guys have to make every day. So thank you for the atmosphere, the positive atmosphere you cultivate in your department, despite going through hard things. That's all I have. Thank you.
Brian?
Robert, you got one of the doors fixed, but the other was not, so you're only halfway
The
there.
outside door.
How I keep my job.
I just had a few things. One is I was able, with the help of Carl and Wes, put in out 3 outdoor recreation grants this last week. One was for purchasing 3 all-terrain wheelchairs. And there's wheelchairs that somebody can push, they go anywhere, and then they could take it up to 4 Bay for anybody that has special needs that they can't get out there. So that was one of them. The other was for the Dry Creek trails, we have asphalt that's about 25 years old, it's buckling and everything, and a grant to actually put concrete in there. And then for 4 Bay, put in some equestrian trails, some hiking trail, the big tree, and then do a study for getting a skills park, a pump track, and a flow trail, do a study for that. So anyways, that's been fun. And then just thank everybody for the help on that, and I thank all the staff for all that they're doing.
Well, I just love this time of year when I get to see everybody out. I've driven past Memorial Park a couple times the last couple of days, because you have to drive the long way to get around anything in downtown right now. But that's good, because I love to see those park funds being used. The pickleball courts, the basketball pickup games that are going on there. There was soccer practice going on in Memorial Park, families eating picnics, and just all day long there was stuff going on in there. And I absolutely love to see that. And just a shout out to the parks and all that they do. I'm grateful for that. Just keep up the good work, and a shout out to our police officers as well. Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, council, for your comments and support. We'll move on to E, action items. Request for parking reduction for the building located at 55 South and 100 East. Michael?
If I may, there's 2 parking reductions. I'm going to give a presentation on both of them, but they would be separate action items. So the first one is 55 South, 100 East. It's for Holly Carter. She bought, well, I'll talk to you a little bit later about it, but she bought I believe it was a Lafferty chiropractic building, and is putting in her nurse practitioner office there. The second one is for Christian Life Church at 1498 South, 1700 West. So Holly Carter, just for reference, this is Ace Hardware here. This is the former Lafferty Chiropractic, and that's the building that she would be occupying. Our city code requires so much off-street parking based off of the use. The Lafferty building was out of compliance. It was a legal non-conforming use. They should have had off-street parking, and they had a driveway that you probably could have parked 2 or 3 vehicles. So the total number of vehicles that Holly would be required to have parked off-street would be 9. And so she is requesting the 20% reduction that's found in our state code as our city code as a possibility. And that has to come to council for that. And that's why she's requesting that. She would request to have a total of 7 stalls instead of the 9. So this is a little bit closer view of the business there, and then a close-up of the property. Any questions on that, or should I just continue and you can?
No, I would love to comment on this. I drove by it today and noticed that the, building to the south of her, the roads are lined with those vehicles in particular. Is there a reason that something can't be done to park behind that Lafferty building? I mean, is there?
You're talking like this grass area or something
Yeah.
like here? I mean, that could be a possibility, you know.
Could we have her talk with the building to the south of her and say, hey, what can we do? I'll donate the land you put the parking lot in. And they could just tear that out and make that whole section parking, because they've got it. It's wide enough there to get parking both directions. And that would double the parking for the psychologist as well as for her. And kind of a win-win situation and kind of gear that more towards industrial. But that's me thinking outside the box again and.
That could be a suggestion. In no wise, I don't think that could be connected to granting this approval, but that could be a suggestion that those two private property owners could consider.
So likely, even with this approval, she'll have to put in some asphalt somewhere, concrete.
Correct.
Something has grass.
She has not given us plans for that. Her intent would be to get this reduction first and then submit those plans. I'm assuming this is the driveway right there. I'm assuming she would just put it right here.
Could you fit 7 cars there?
I believe so.
So there's only 3 rooms. There's 1 person. The most Lafferty ever had there was 4 patients at a time. The most. Because you have your x-ray room. They're not gonna use that. You have the room where they come in, where the receptionist is at and where they sit. He had 2 exam rooms and that was it. And then he had a room where he had the tables. Like this. So to me, I looked at it a different way because I've been in there for the last 15 years and they never used that parking. In fact, the building next to it was always parked in front of them. And his own people couldn't park there, but that driveway could fit 2 people. And Robert and I went down and looked at it and we figure where the white cars at, like it's way back there where the stripes are at. They could probably add at least 2 more, one on that side and one on this other side, which would actually give her more than 7 parking places. But we realize that she needs to have off-site. And to me, she may want to build on. That's why I don't think she would want to go in the back because, if she gets.
Well, then she'll have to have more parking.
No, this is what I'm saying. She may want to build on, and if she does, then she's gonna have to go back there. But she's not looking at that right now. She's just starting her own business here. And we even talked about where the grass is at, maybe gravel there for right now. But she's never gonna probably use that unless she brings another person in and they build onto that building. Because you can't go down to the cellar. It's a cellar. It's not a basement, it's a cellar.
So she's really just asking for to discount 2 parking spots.
Correct.
That-
Yeah, the code requires, based on her use, it requires that she would have 9 total stalls. Lafferty would be the same, it's never been there. And so 1, we're trying to bring it closer into compliance with a new use coming there. But 2, by putting this in there, it would also free up some stalls on the street that could potentially be used for other
Now, is
purposes.
she doing chiropractic as well?
No,
She's a nurse practitioner.
It's a completely different
So
business.
she's only gonna be seeing the most of 2 people at a time. Where Lafferty, he had another little setup of other things that were going on in there. That were literally just sitting in that main room and in his x-ray room. And his secretary to take care
Yeah,
of
but
it.
it's
Like,
not.
I'm just trying to look at a precedence as well, and I mean, I can see it here, justification. If she was ever to say, hey, let's expand this, more than likely, they'd probably just tear that little house down and push the building back, put a parking lot in front of it, and go with no offset in the back and push it back, but I don't
And
know.
it's
I
really
hate-
nice. They went in, that top part is like really nice. And so that's why I'm
If
saying.
you're, I'm just talking on the big spectrum of things, and I don't know.
And this is a conundrum because it's tough, because this is an old residential area that's now something different, so it's a tricky thing, and they're trying to make the best of what they have, so. But
Sounds like they're willing to make enough parking for 7 cars.
Yeah.
Correct.
I think that's.
And I think that would be the most you would need, because like I said, with 4, and you could put. Like I said, Robert and I went and looked down there yesterday, and look, you could probably add a couple more stripes to add. And that along with the 2 parking in the parking lot. She would have plenty. And then.
I would love to see it,
Door.
to go back to her and maybe make that suggestion as far as expanding the neighbors parking lot. I mean, that'd be totally between them, and they might jump all over it because they definitely don't have enough parking there. And that would free it up. Clients could park on the street, employees could park behind, and it would kind of open that area up. I still think it'd be a better option for even the 7 stalls to go in the back like that and use the egress through was it sandstone or
Yeah, through the back.
through the back of that? But that's.
That could be for the future, for my concern, might say that is something that could happen in the future, but for right now.
If we still go 7, I still wonder if we could kind of maybe sway in that way.
Well, but, I mean, we could talk about it.
We could definitely make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
We could suggest that.
It would maybe be a way for them, for her also. I mean, I don't know what she paid. I know she paid
A lot of
a
money.
lot of money
Yes.
for it. And basically she needs to get in there and start working to pay that back, where, like I'm saying, even if she brought another person in with her, they're both only gonna have 1 room. It's just not a big building unless they literally went in, and then you guys would know that anyway, to totally remodel it, which has already been done, so I can't see that happening, and I'm sure that's why she bought it, because it was already nice inside. I don't know who's been in there. Have any of you been in there? I mean, it is really nice inside. They've done a really.
And Michael,
good job.
what triggered this was the change of ownership, right? Because before it was.
Yes,
Well, yes, by Mr. Lafferty passing away and this being sold, a new business was coming to the area, and so it was something that we said, well, this is an opportunity that we can fix a non-conformity here.
Very good.
So we're winning there as well.
Right.
So I got a couple of things. One is, and we got this one, then we got the next one after, setting precedents that, anybody that doesn't want to have the parking that's required is gonna come in and say, well, you did it here, and so I'm trying to just trying to justify that in my mind, how are you gonna separate this from everybody else that comes in and says the same thing? I don't have the room, or I'm only gonna have so many patients or something like that, so I'm really trying to figure that out.
And we've already done that in other situations.
Yeah, I feel like we're running down the rabbit hole with this constantly.
But, well, one thing about it is maybe, and this, and I know we say we have a parking problem downtown, even though there's, a lot of the parking is not used very much time if you walk 1 block. But maybe there's a way in the downtown area that, because we are converting some of this residential to business type thing, maybe that's some justification in doing some of this, because we aren't gonna be able to put, that many parking stalls in all these buildings around the downtown area. So that might be some way we can say, well, this is why we're doing this in this area.
To answer your first comment a little bit, the code does allow for this reduction, but it's at the discretion of council. And so I don't think that any precedent is set with any given request.
Well, they'll be coming to us because we did it.
Right. The code can be modified if there's any concern that we could, if you wanted additional guidance, I guess, in there.
Okay, well, let's clarify the code real quick, because there's lots of them, we don't know all of them, but, so why is it requiring 9 and not 7? What does the code say?
It's a percentage ratio based off of the square footage of the building and the type of use. And so based off of that they would be required to have that.
And it's the type of use, medical, or what's the type of use?
I think it's professional office medical, something like that.
And this one right here, we're winning too, because it's currently out of compliance.
Right,
And
correct.
It will be close to compliance.
We're gonna go from 2 to 7, so it's a step up, but I mean, that's where our volunteer fire department is, and you call out a fire truck and they all pull down and there's nowhere to park. You know, and I'm like, okay, does this take them longer to get out of their trucks and into the other vehicles and go? So just kind of food for thought.
Okay, any other comments? Go ahead and you're gonna.
Okay, yes, I'll talk about the other one. So the Christian Life Church, this doesn't show up as well on here, but this is I-15 here. And this frontage road is 1700 West, and the Christian Life Church is there. So this is, I'm sure you've seen their building from the side of the road or from the freeway. You can see they've got a fairly large parking lot now. They are proposing an addition, and with that addition, they would be required to have a total of 168 parking stalls. They gave us some numbers of their average weekly attendance and their activities, events, all of the people that associate and go there. They estimate they use about 50 stalls now, and I think they have 80 some stalls. And they estimate with their addition, they could have a total of about 450 people at any given time there. And they would estimate they needed about, I think they said 132 stalls, but the 20% reduction would make it 135.
And Michael, per code, that's all we can do is 20%.
We couldn't do more, no.
Adjust it. So you're not, okay.
So how big, they're gonna more than double this building then?
That's what it sounds like. They have not submitted an application for that yet, but concepts that they've talked to us about, they're gonna put a large addition.
What are they gonna use it for? What's
It would just be church services and whatever extracurriculars that they do.
Well, one thing I saw in this is that it said something about they have extra land where people can park. What happens if we just say gravel that and, you know, we'll go with this, the 135 for asphalt parking, but gravel it to have enough to comply with our regulations.
Is that possible?
I don't think there's anything that's stopping that. The city code does require hard surface off-street parking. I don't know that gravel is considered a hard surface.
But it's more than telling them they don't have to have it, period.
Correct. I don't see why that couldn't be suggested. I think it's potentially trying to be a cost savings for them as they build this large addition that they don't anticipate needing a lot of additional parking stalls. But that could be a suggestion or maybe something contingent upon granting this approval.
We could give them a referral where they can use and then have it on a schedule, you know, on the basis that they can do it X amount of years down the road as need arises, or is that something to play with the gravel that they own?
The attorney said no.
Okay.
So I have another thing to go with this. Have we looked at parking just for churches? Is this a requirement for churches or just square footage for any?
This is for the parking that's required here. It's particular to churches. Yes.
Because it seems like most of the churches you go to, even during their busy times, except for maybe twice a year, their parking lots are never.
Well, and that's part of the justification that staff is a 20% reduction is not unreasonable here. Like you said, it's rare that their parking lots are full.
I sat back there and debated about going down the rabbit hole of parking. And this is what I'm going to say about parking is that it's back in whatever time, some people decided that they wanted to assign a certain amount of parking stalls to different uses. There's really not the best metric to do that, other than we're going to see how it works and try for the next time. And that's really what the cumulative total of what our current parking standards are, is just seeing how things have worked out and adjusted over time. The parking is a really difficult animal. For this one specifically though, because we do not have a current design or layout for what the addition is going to be, if the council is inclined to approve that, I would just condition it to say, based on the design that would meet these parking requirements, So we don't have a situation that they decide to double the addition, but they're only beholden to a certain number of parking stalls. So I would just caution you on that one. The other one, it's an established structure. We know what the footprint is going to be. If in the future they did decide on the other one to expand that, then we would reassess parking at that time. But for this one, if we're considering a reduction here, because we don't know all of the parameters, I would just base it on the size of the building as presently understood, but could change depending on the size of the addition.
This one's tricky too, because it is on that frontage road, and we don't know what the future holds for that. And
We do a little bit, the main road, there's a 5-lane highway that goes behind it to the west of them. The frontage road is supposed to be mostly abandoned for a few years.
I know, but,
So-
and things sometimes go to plan. And so that's just something to consider. And, yeah, I'd love to work with them, but I wonder, can we just send this back and not even approve and just say, come back with the parking reduction once we see your building plans?
If I may, I would recommend if you approve the reduction, that you approve a reduction, but not any quantity of stalls. And so the reduction would be contingent upon the size of the addition that they do.
Okay. But see, we're in the situation we are downtown with no parking because we never planned for enough parking. So I just don't want to be in that same situation in the other end of town.
Where would they think about building?
I believe their addition is gonna be here.
Do they own the land closer to the frontage road in front of them too? Like where the
This-
road's coming
this
in,
area
is
here?
that their-
I'd have to check the parcel map. I think so.
But doesn't it go down like this?
Yes, that is, you can see that this is a retaining wall right here, so there is some amount of elevation change.
Mhm.
Walk around.
I know it's not very busy. I drive by there on Sundays all the time.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, I'm ready for a motion on the first one.
Where she's trying to make the best use she can out of an existing old residential building, and this would relieve at least some parking. I do make a motion that we approve the parking reduction for nurse practitioner at the building located 55 South, 100 East.
I'll second that.
And can we look at adding a couple more? I mean, there was room to add a couple more. So you could actually have more.
Well, we either do the reduction or we don't.
No, but that will make it so that there's plenty, yeah, we want to do the reduction.
Just do the reduction and then down the road we can address it.
Okay.
Okay, so this been seconded that way? Okay, motion been seconded, start, council roll call, Payson.
Yes.
Council
Yes.
Hewitt, Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Wright.
Yes.
Reduction, good, thank you. Now for the second, one on the reduction, is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion that we approve a reduction on the Christian Life Church parking, subject to the size of building that they build, but no less than reduce it by 20% of what's required.
Is that what it should be?
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Council, roll call, starting with Council Pyatt.
Yes.
Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
And Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just so you're aware, that Christian Life Assembly of God is 5.25 acres, and their building sits on the front half of it. There's
So
lots of
they want
land there.
I think we've done a good thing doing that.
If they need it, they'll put it in the parking lots.
Okay, going to number 3 resolution, real estate purchase contract with the corporation of the presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for approximately 1,000 north and 600 east. John?
Oh, I didn't. You guys were making a motion already.
Oh, okay, I was like, wow, that's quick.
Oh, you gotta fight for this.
Okay, so we cut down a tree to print it, make the printout, cause, and then I thought it was good, cause our projector didn't work for a little bit, and so. You got a close up there. So that first slide, if we can go to the slide, that's a pretty cool lift there with that transformer. I put that picture up. This is the transmission lines in the southern end of the valley. And you can see down where the green ones are, that's Payson's transmission line, 46 kV. And then I kind of got a circle star there. That's by the Suter substation. That substation is actually owned by SESD. And we have the SUVPS line goes in it, feeds SESD, comes out, and we also have a breaker in there that we get power from. We're planning on moving that whole connection to the north, down by the Raylock building there where the church properties are. And SUVPS is going to buy a piece of land. So I think it's on actually the next slide, actually it'll be 2 slides from now. So what happened is there's all those transmission lines there. We want to take advantage of it and build a substation for the Bamberger area without having to pay for a bunch of easements and get transmission lines. And there's gonna be a 138 line put through there. That's the purple looking one there from the Nevo power plant, and make a loop back up to the Taylor substation, which is close to that area where the new one that Spanish Work is doing now. So that'll provide another loop. So we're like, that's an ideal location. So if you go to the next slide, we gave the church options all along the power lines there, saying we'll put a substation anywhere you want. And thinking if we give them the choice, they'll be nicer to us about it. That one that's right against the 5th East, they didn't want to give up because they see that as valuable commercial property in the future, and they didn't want us close to the church either. That's kind of by that long rectangle there. There's that nice field down there. We were thinking, okay, let's be right there in that corner, and they didn't want to give that up either, close to that church. So they're giving us access to that 1.02 acres, and we have good access to it because 6 East there, that road's going to go through eventually when they do their new development. So if you go to the next slide, it will show the, hey, we lost it. Oh. So that third page, that shows the one that SUVPS is, SUVPS is gonna buy, and then the one that they will sell to us. And that connection there is really good for us because we can bring power into our land and either do 46 kV or 138 eventually, and then go underground from there and do that whole Bamberger area to the north. So this is probably about 4 years down the road, you know, whenever that develops, we'll really drive that, but it's an awesome location for us. And they gave us a price on it. And I think there's another slide after it. And that's the one that I showed at the retreat. That shows where we eventually, you know, we want to have loops and what we're trying to do in the future. But that's what that is. So, but that's up that one that's called Arrowhead. That's this land here that we're wanting to look at for the future. We had it appraised and surveyed, and it was, I think it was $225,700. Was that? I think that's what it was on the contract. It says, yeah. But we're just looking for a resolution or permission to buy that property right there. And then what we need to do after that is try and go after where those trailers are, and that about 1/3 of an acre or so, and make it to where we're all.
That's the blue border property.
The blue border property is one that we're trying to get for Payson City.
Just slightly over an acre.
And would we extend that road down to access it, or no?
Yes,
Okay.
that's what the plan is that's what we're talking to the church, because it looks to us like there'd be let's see, is that like north? You know how there's that row of houses there? We
Yeah.
would think there'd be houses on the other side of it, like back to back or some kind of thing when the church does their development. So this works for us because we should have a street right there. We'll have curb and gutter. And then we'll have to build a nice wall, you know, like you know, those kind of where they slide the panels in of cement, it's kind of looks like rock. We'll have to do something like that there to protect it and make it so it's not intrusive to the houses right there. And then, I mean, they already have all the trailers and stuff behind, so we'd try and clean that up, try and get that piece of land. And then there's a power line that goes along the back side of that parking lot where all the trailers are to the, I guess it would be east, yeah. And anyway, there's a bunch of convergence there, so it's an awesome piece of land where we can take advantage of that and not have to get easements and stuff.
And we do have the money budgeted in this current.
A question for you, when the church sold the UVU property to them, they said they had to wait like, I thought, 5 years. Are they past the time? Can they sell us to us now, or do they still have to wait for a while?
This piece,
Right.
they can sell it now.
Okay.
So that, SVPS is, we already approved them to buy theirs like 3 weeks ago. I think that they probably already bought, because Dane Hill, who is the manager I'm working with from property reserving, he kind of pinged me yesterday and says, what are you guys doing? And I said, oh, it happens to be in council, so.
They must have gone past for 5 years, and they don't mention that anymore.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know about, oh, you meant there was like a 5-year window.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
It was for tax purposes. They had to
Okay.
do something.
They
so.
couldn't sell anything for like 5 years, after they sold.
I think I've been married for 6 years and I think that was about a year in the plan.
Okay,
Because it had to be in Greenbelt, because they had it in Greenbelt probably.
it was in Greenbelt, so we have to do the taxes to get it out. And the estimate on that's $2,800 to get it out of Greenbelt, and then once it's in our ownership, then we don't pay tax on it anymore.
Okay, any questions, council? No. Okay, pretty straightforward, thank you. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution for the real estate purchase contract corporation of presiding bishop of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at approximately 1,000 North 600 East.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second, roll call vote starting with Council Hyatt.
Yes.
Council Moss,
Yes.
Council Rowley,
Yes.
Council Hewitt.
Yes.
Council Christensen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. And I just wanted to remind you, I sent out an email, I think last week, about the municipal toolkit, and that'll be held at the same time as the Utah League is down in St. George around April 17th. And if you're interested to go to that, there's gonna be good presentations. One's on RTOs, which is regional transmission organizations. They're becoming a new thing where this is multi-state groups create a border and say, all right, this is your resource adequacy, this is how you need to be stacked up on generation, trading rules, all that kind of things, and they're really large, and it's becoming quite a hot topic. So CAISO is the California one, but they're trying to join with Utah, Nevada, Idaho, Arizona, all in one, and then there's one in all this other states called SPP. Anyway, they'll talk about that, and that's important to learn about, and it's really awesome. I mean, as we look forward for generation, that we're kind of getting the cheapest way to have that resource adequacy. Because you have to prove you have enough to cover your loads once these organizations start going. Otherwise, there's fines and different things to try and get you up to that, so that there isn't energy crises and things like that in the future. And then the other thing was utility financial metrics and things like that. I don't know, it's interesting to me. It kind of shows the ratios and different things that you can do, and different things with rates and stuff. So it'll be good. It's only, I think, 3.5 hours or so on the 17th. So if you want to do that, let me know and we can sign up.
Sean, thank you for all you do for our power and your vision of what we can be self-reliant with Payson Power. Look forward to it, and I thank you for all your work.
Thank you for that. Okay, since the work session has been postponed, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Thank you.